Hello everyone, my name is Loko and welcome to a new game of StarCraft II Heart of the Storm. Today I'm going to be analyzing a game played by Ice White Shot, spawning as the hero Zerg in the top right corner of Habitation Station Alley. And he's actually ECB from the live stream. I think that's how you pronounce your name. I'm never sure how you pronounce you guys' nicknames, but I'm gonna call him Ice White Shot in this game. And this is a gold level Zerg versus Terran, where we're gonna take a look at mostly the hero Zerg, but also a little bit of the Terran player spawning as the top left red Terran player named is Aman, I think, Aman. But mostly we'll take a look at the Zerg. So this is a pretty good example game of sometimes things go wrong and you kind of just don't really know exactly how to respond, and you kind of do a build order that's sort of in between. Now that is a little bit vague right now, but we will take a close look at this game and we will get exactly where I want to be. So this is actually a very common mistake of people that I used to coach a lot as well, right around gold to platinum-ish league, where you have a really good idea of the game, you know exactly how build orders are supposed to go, and you also are aware of micro, macro, you are actually pretty good at the game already, but you're just messing one fundamental thing up, mostly. So we will take a look at that. Right here in the early part of the game, well, I'm not gonna hammer on that too much, but basically the first Overlord will die, and it's already messing him up a little bit, but like I said, we're not gonna take a look at that. Nope, not taking a look at that dying Overlord right there. So the Terran player, first of all, let's talk a little bit about the Terran player. The Terran player is mostly just gonna sit back on tomb bases and just sort of make units and move out. Marine, Marauder, Mine, Medevacs. Kind of a pretty standard unit composition right there. Nothing too major, nothing too surprising, just a pretty standard Terran play. Just a greedy expansion into the natural, as you can see already, and he's just gonna sit back and masturbate off of two bases, okay? That's basically what the Terran player is doing. Now, meanwhile, our hero Zerg player on this side of the map has gotten his gas geysers up, he's gotten a queen up, he's gonna start the queen injects and all that, we will actually take a look at the game really quickly right now and then actually get more in depth in the actual replay. So right now we're just crushing and just speeding through the replay, but here is where the game gets a little bit more interesting. We see the Roach Warren being taken quite early on already by Ice White Shot. So at this point, when I first took a look at this replay, I thought, okay, maybe he's gonna go for a Roach Bailing Bus, right? Because the third base is not here yet. The normal third base timing is right around the 6-minute mark. And currently it's 7.5 minutes into the game and we do not see a third base quite yet. And then we also do see the Roach Warren come down and we see the first couple of roaches come down. However, we don't quite see a move out yet. We don't really have a big army that can really start going ahead and crushing our Terran opponent. There's two evolution chambers at the front that are currently not being used, so this would indicate a macro game. However, these roaches are out. They're actually gonna be moving across the map right now, I believe. Yep, there we go. And there's gonna be a couple of banelings that we will be morphing right now as well to try and maybe bust down this wall. But then we also decide to actually go for a pretty late third base. There we go, the third hatchery is gonna go down eventually as well. So, the build order, as you might have already guessed where I'm getting at right now, the build order is a little bit all over the place. It is a little bit macro right now, with the third base going up and double upgrades potentially at the front of the base, with a pretty late Roach Warren and a pretty late Bailing Nest, and now we're gonna do also a little bit of a timing push right now that is basically being completely shut down because we simply do not have enough units. So ECB is executing a build order that is very much so all over the place in the fact that he is not really decided to go for either a macro game or to go for a timing push. And that is a very common thing that happens a lot. But you kind of just make these units that you can see right here. Then you realize, oh shit, the Terran player is just having a lot more than I anticipated. Let's just go sit back at home and just sort of trickle on a couple more units every now and then, because I'm not completely sure when the Terran player move out, right? So this is one of these mistakes that is honestly pretty easy to cover. The main mistake right here is to make sure that you know what you're gonna do. Before the game loads up, you already want to make sure that you are completely aware of the build order that you're gonna be going for. It is not viable at least not on a high level, to go for this in-between sort of build where you try to do and a little bit of aggression and to do a little bit of macro. Because even though right now we are at an economy advantage, we could have had this advantage a lot earlier, which would have had us, would have allowed us to just simply get a lot more units. Because you can already imagine what's gonna happen. I know a lot of poor Zerg souls will know exactly what's gonna happen here. The Terran player is gonna make Widow Mines, and we just slowly but surely die a very painful death with the Terran player just macroing off of a ton more barracks. He forgot to macro, I suppose, and he just added a couple more barracks right there. So we do try to bust him once more, realize that that doesn't work. The Terran player is gonna move across the map for a couple more times, and then we just sort of die. Let's speed through the very end of this. It's gonna be a bit painful, my fellow Zerg friends, so make sure you got your eyes covered if you are a little bit frustrated in this. Ideally, you want to already, before you even get into the game, you already want to have decided what kind of a build you want to be going for. So next time, what I would really like you to do in every single matchup, in every single game, on every single map, is as soon as you see the loading screen, okay, Habitation Station, Ali, Zerg versus Terran, what build order am I gonna go for? You do not want to decide this at this point, you already want to have this decided. So either you're gonna go macro, or you're gonna go for a timing push. There is not a viable strategy that is allowed to go in, like, in between these sort of things. Now, if you decide to go for a timing push, you probably want to study the build order a little bit more. I made a couple of videos about this build as well, how to exactly execute the Roach Bailing push versus Terran players, but just keep in mind that is not viable to actually do an in-between sort of build. If you're gonna play macro, great, get the double upgrades going, get the third base going, squeeze out as many drones as possible. If you're gonna go for a timing push, make sure to get the Roach Burn, make sure to get the Bailing Nest at the correct timing, make sure these Queen Injects line up, make a ton of Roaches, and just roll over the Terran player. And honestly, versus this Terran player right here, both macro and a timing push would have worked just fine. He is not going for an impressive army composition. His macro is not very good. His micro is not very good either. So I think he would have been fine if you either committed more into this timing push or if you committed more into this macro into the third base. Hopefully this helped out your Zerg versus Terran play and pretty much every single matchup. Make sure to decide what build order and what strategy you're gonna go for before even starting the game. So thank you guys all for watching, have an amazing day, do not forget to smile, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! The Terran player is never gonna stop pushing out. I think he's likely gonna keep moving across the map. Take a look at the minimap right now.